Hello everyone, and welcome back to Monsters of the Past. As always, I'm your host, Mr. G, and today I'm here off the coast of Australia to talk about the 35th most dangerous thing to have ever lived in these waters. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Kronosaurus. Kronosaurus means Lizard of Kronos, in reference to the Titan from Greek mythology. It was a pliosaur that was a carnivore, and it lived during the early Cretaceous in Australia. Queensland, to be exact. Kronosaurus was around 35 feet long, making it around the size of a small whale, and also making it one of the largest of the pliosaurs. As said earlier, Kronosaurus was a pliosaur, which were close relatives with the long-necked aquatic reptiles plesiosaurs, which we'll get to in about 50 episodes. The things that made pliosaurs different from plesiosaurs is the fact their necks are definitively shorter, their heads are bigger, and unlike plesiosaurs, which most likely ate small fish and squid, pliosaurs probably ate much larger animals like ichthyosaurs, sharks, and maybe even plesiosaurs. Kronosaurus itself is a rare example of a Cretaceous pliosaur, as much like the ichthyosaurs, pliosaurs were on the decline in the Cretaceous, most likely because of the evolution of mosasaurs. Alongside Kronosaurus, there are several other pliosaurs that gain notoriety from one reason or another. For example, there's the infamous Pliosaurus fungi, better known as Predator X, which gained fame from its large size, maybe even surpassing Kronosaurus, depending on estimates. Then there's liopleurodon, which much like Velociraptor, gained fame due to a pop culture portrayal that made it seem bigger than it actually was. But I'll talk about that when I get to the pop culture stuff. Now that we got that out of the way, let's look at the card. Well, first of all, I'm kind of surprised that they picked Kronosaurus as the pliosaur representation, since this was during the time when liopleurodon was at the height of its popularity. So the fact that they picked Kronosaurus over it is admirable. Weird, but admirable. Anyway, this card only has two real errors. First of all, it doesn't have a tail fluke, which we know that most pliosaurs and plesiosaurs most likely had. And secondly, on the back of the card, it claims it was a predator of Elasmosaurus, even though the two species existed in different time points. Overall, this isn't the worst card ever, so I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Alright, now let's look at some appearances of pliosaurs in pop culture. As for Kronosaurus itself, it appeared in Jurassic Park 3 Park Builder, Jurassic Park Builder the mobile game, Jurassic World the game, and in the Meg novel series, Kronosaurus appear in some of the later books, where they're described as having re-evolved gills, meaning they no longer have to return to the surface. It should be noted, though, that this is impossible, since you cannot re-evolve lost traits, and gills are something that were lost in their evolution. But whatever, it's a science fiction novel, so who really cares? As for other pliosaurs, Pliosaurus appeared in Jurassic World the game, and Jurassic Park Builder. Then we got liopleurodon, which, as I said earlier, is a lot like raptors from Jurassic Park, in that a piece of media made it famous because it was portrayed oversized. In this case, liopleurodon was made famous by the documentary series Walking with Dinosaurs, which portrayed liopleurodon as an almost 83-foot-long creature, and it was basically described as one of the biggest creatures to have ever lived in the oceans. Now, it should be stated that the reason why this happened was because at the time, this was an actual size estimate in a way, as due to only being known from very fragmentary remains at the time, its true size was a mystery, and some people claimed that they had found evidence of an 80-foot-long liopleurodon. However, nowadays, we know that those weren't liopleurodon bones. And liopleurodon's true size was only around 13 feet long-ish. In fact, it was actually smaller than Kronosaurus. Now, I have heard some people claim that we shouldn't discredit this, since the reptiles do continuously grow throughout their lives, but let me counter that by saying this. Do you realize how much an 80-foot-long creature would need to eat in order to not starve to death? And consider just how fast its prey are, and how a creature that long probably wouldn't be the fastest swimmer. That's all I'm going to say on the issue. You can try to debate me that liopleurodon could actually reach these sizes in the comments, but I'm not going to argue. You believe what you want to believe, I guess. Okay, that went on too long. Let's move on to its other appearances. Liopleurodon appears in Land Before Time, I Don't Really Care, as an antagonist, where just like Walking with Dinosaurs, it's oversized. Liopleurodon appeared in the viral video Charlie the Unicorn, where one just kind of sits around and is worshipped as a borderline god. Liopleurodon appears in Jurassic World the game, where thankfully it's the correct size. And finally, Liopleurodon appears in Ark Survival Evolved as a semi-tameable animal. And let me tell you, this thing is not popular with the community. Mostly because of the fact that it was a very big disappointment. Pre-release media of it made it seem like it was going to be its gimmick was going to be that you could stay on its back longer underwater without a snorkel, and that its attacks would gradually weaken as they went on. Instead, what we got in the game was a magical lizard that disappears. It could only be tamed for 30 minutes. Woo! Woo! Oh yeah, and the whole air thing and those attack things, yeah, those never happened either. Yeah, it's easy to see why this thing is hated. They took a reference to Charlie the Unicorn and took it a bit too far. But hey, at least it's the right size. You know, I think I actually spent more time ranting about Liopleurodon than I did talking about Kronosaurus. But hey, that's life. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about the time a dinosaur got framed for nearly 50 years. Bye!